Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the live tonight. I'm Max Jimenez. For those of you that don't know, but thank you all for those of you that reached out to me. I got a special show tonight that I wanted to present to you guys. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Max Jimenez, and basically been wholesaling now for about 6 years. And for those of you that are new to the show, obviously what I talk about is mainly focusing on acquisitions, right? A lot of you guys know, and a lot of you guys that follow me consistently, I talk a lot about sales, acquisition sales, and understanding how to become not just an average acquisition person, but a high performer. You know what I mean? And so, if you follow my content, or if you basically have been following me for a while, I really appreciate every single one of you for that. Let's see. I'm gonna let a few people jump on here. Looks like Tony's on here. What's up, brother? I appreciate you, Tony, for always supporting me, and always, obviously, being part of this show, and the closure and the sales hour and everything. So tonight I want to Manuel says this is my first time. What's up, Manuel? Good to see you on here, bro. Yeah, tonight I want to talk about a unique subject. Talk about a little bit of how to understand what the difference between a prospect or a suspect is. I think a lot of times what tends to happen is, especially in what we do, is that we tend to what is it called, confuse both of those, right? We're gonna talk about the difference. We're gonna talk about how to identify the difference between a suspect and a prospect, so that way you get an idea of um, how to make sure that when you're talking to a seller, right, that they don't waste your time. At the end of the day, we're looking for individuals that fit our solution. We're looking for individuals that are, potentially are going to work with us. You know what I mean? And there's a few things that we have to first look at, and I'm going to dive deep into that. And so I want to make sure that that I uncover what the difference is. It says they are always suspects. It depends, right? Because I think there's going to be more suspects than none, for sure. And so we tend to try to convince people, but I don't think there are always 100% suspects. There's always going to be people that do want to sell, that do fit our solution. But it's up to us to qualify them, right? It's up to us to make sure we understand what's their concern, what's their need. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is the difference between motivation and situation, right? That's usually a determination of how we confuse prospects with suspects, right? The other thing too is the other. That's the first thing I'm going to get into. That second thing I'm going to get into, which is understanding, uh, you know, uh, um, how to really identify when you're talking to someone, whether they start to become a prospect, right, or they suspect, which is engagement, cooperation, and reciprocation in the conversation, right? And lastly, I'm going to talk about the difference as far as like the way that they're answering your questions, and are they actually genuine? Are they lying to you? Are they trying to steal from you? And then are they hiding from you? Those three things I'm going to cover tonight. I'm going to go a little bit deep into them. So for those of you that are new to this, let me know where you're tuning in from. I love to hear where you're tuning in from. That way I can give you a shout out. But I really appreciate it. By the way, if you have if you have if this is your first time, obviously one of my asks is always to really find out, or to really get you guys to share this live with somebody, at least one person, so that way that person that needs to hear this, that needs help with this type of conversation, can come and also listen to and watch the stream. So I would really appreciate if you can actually share this, with someone that actually needs this. And we're also live on Instagram as well. And I got a question on Instagram: can this live be safe, or is this okay, or is this YouTube also? The live will actually be uploaded on YouTube as soon as the live is done, right? As soon as it's done, they definitely can be. It'll definitely be there available for you to rewatch. So let me go ahead and make sure that we are on live here. Yeah, this is your first time watching. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I like to give you a shout out so that way, people can, see where you're, what market are you in. But I'm excited. I'm gonna try to do this. I already had it planned to go live a weeks ago, but obviously, with my busy schedule and everything that I got going on, I finally was able to go live. I want to do these a little bit more and kind of break these into, talking points when it comes to, acquisitions, because I think it's really important to. There is a right way to do acquisition sales, right? I think what gets taught a lot, what gets mixed into some of these programs that are out there is a lot of fluff and a lot of rah information, right? And it's disguised as technique and strategy. And to be honest with you, it's like, so when someone listens to that, it hypes you up. Like it hypes you up because we're naturally in tune with, with that, right? With the hype and the motivation and the dopamine hit. But in reality, that tends to wear down and the strategy dies with it. That's why it's important, if you're going to be moving from an average acquisition salesperson to a very high level, a high level, high performer acquisitions individual. There's a few things, right, that you got to understand when it comes to acquisition sales, because the better you can get, and listen, and there's small wins, right? Like there's wins where you can actually, you celebrate those small wins, which is the first level, which is getting sellers to have a conversation with you, right? Getting sellers to have, and I call this the three levels of trust. Most of you have heard me say this before, but there are three levels of trust, right? The first level of trust is what? Getting them to have a conversation with you. And the problem with a lot of programs out there, the mistake that they make, they want to move from level zero, from level one to level three within the first 5 minutes of the conversation. So what tends to happen is that because they do that so fast, right? And when I say that, I mean they move into price, negotiations, even motivation too quick, when you don't even have the first level of trust, which is build the trust to at least have a conversation with you that is engaging, that is cooperative, and that's reciprocative, right? It's back and forth. Most programs out there, when it comes to talking to sellers, what tends to happen is they move too fast, way too fast, into level three trust, which is the now we're getting into high level motivation and negotiations, right? And guess what? Guess what happens? We put suspects through that, right? We those programs, they try to fit every suspect through through that process. So that's the first level of trust, right? I always talk about this. I think this is really important. I'm glad I'm hitting on this because I think this is going to go right into our conversation tonight. Which, how do you know if you're talking to a suspect or a prospect? And I think identify or having that understanding of the three level of trust, right? First level is getting them to trust you enough to have a conversation with you, because let's be honest, I don't know about how long some of you have been doing this. You're not buying a house in 5 minutes. You're not buying a house in 2 minutes. You definitely not going to buy a house in 30 seconds, right? So what we need to do is understand that in the conversation, in the calls, and understanding that we need to move through the three phases, which leads to phase two. Or level two, excuse me. Once I win level one, right? Once I win level one, and once I got them in level one, which is I got them now feeling comfortable, they trust me now enough to at least have a conversation with them, and allow me to ask them a few questions, to discover if this is a property that we're going to qualify for an offer. Think about that, right? Think about that here for a minute. Not everybody should qualify for an offer. Not everybody should be a qualification to really give them an offer, right? That's just my philosophy. And the reason why is because think about this. If you set a if you're setting a standard in what you do, where it's like I got to make 100 offers, just look at your KPIs, right? Like look at all those. Like how many are those really being accepted? I've seen it already. I'm coaching someone currently right now, and then maybe they're listening right now, or I'm not sure. they had it was I think it was a little over 25 offers sent out, and in reality only seven got accepted. Now, when I say is not make everyone an offer, I'm talking about everyone that doesn't deserve an offer, everyone that doesn't deserve your time, right? Because they're not allowing you to qualify the property for an offer. They're not allowing you to ask questions. How can you give somebody an offer, right? How can you give somebody an offer that's not solving anything, right? It's a blind offer what you're doing, right? And an offer, and I'm reading here right now, an offer has to basically, how can an offer solve something that's not there? You see what I'm saying? So again, that's the first part. So we need to build the first level of trust, which is get them to trust you, to have a conversation with you. Then the second level of trust comes the discovery phase. This is where we're going to find out what is really going on for them to really reach out to us to sell their property as is, cash, quick, right? Now we're going to go into that discovery phase. That's the second level of trust, which means now we're going to ask those deeper questions about motivation and condition, right? The condition of the property. And so we spend most of our time is going to be most of our calls, or most of our time, excuse me, is going to be spent there. A lot of times it's going to end there as well. And the follow up, this is where you got to be ready. This is why it's important when you start to move from being an average salesperson into a high level or high performing closer, acquisitions closer, is understanding your outcomes. What are the outcomes that you're looking for? You should be prepared for 3 outcomes at least minimum. For me, it's I either want the agreement, or I want a clear future outcome, or I'm ending the sale. It's easy as that, right? And honestly, I don't know if you can put any other ones in there, right? I don't know if you can put any other ones in there. So it's either I want the agreement, or we're getting a clear future outcome, which is a follow up, or I'm ending the sale. Simple as that. Notice I didn't say I'm hanging up the call. I said I'm ending the sale, right? And there's strategic ways that we can do that as well too, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But appreciate you guys all jumping on Instagram. Stay tuned. I'm going to talk tonight about how do I uncover if I'm talking to a prospect or a suspect, and I said we're going to cover three things, but right now we're just laying the foundation, right? We're talking about building the trust levels, 3 trust levels. So we just basically covered level number 1, which is getting them to trust you enough to have a conversation with you, right? Which means getting over your intro and pitch, right? Getting over that hump. That's the number 1 level. And then now we're into the second level, which is basically the discovery phase. This is where I said, this is where I was before I went to Instagram and gave everybody a shout out there. This is where most of your calls are going to you're going to live in this area here. This is where a lot of your calls are going to be ending in a follow-up, right? Scheduling a follow-up. And so if you're in this phase, if you're in the discovery phase, there's a high likely chance you're transitioning from somebody that is going to be a prospect for you. Because if you're asking like motivation questions, like, what's going on, what got you considering selling, how soon do you feel comfortable selling, what happens if you don't sell, let's pretend you got an offer that you were comfortable with, how soon would you feel comfortable putting everything in writing? Like when you start asking these questions, these how and what questions, these open-ended and these setup questions, and they are answering these questions, you're now moving into the prospect phase, right? And right away, because again, we're measuring it from those 3 things, which is cooperation, engagement, and reciprocation, right? I'll get into a little bit of that. I don't want to touch that yet because that's one of the highlight points. Jason, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you for being on. Missed part of this. Will there be a replay? Yes. Once I'm done, this is going to loop into YouTube, or it's going to upload into YouTube, not loop. Excuse me. It's going to upload to YouTube, and you're going to be able to watch it ASAP. So make sure that you subscribe as well. Man, guys, hit the like button as well too. I really appreciate it. It says Justin said when you read the CC notes and they say when retail is it all right? I'll get into that right now, Jason. So I'm gonna star you, or Justin. I'm gonna star your question because I think that's very powerful. Appreciate it. Jensen, what's going on? What's up, Max? Dropping gems as always. I appreciate you. All right, let's get back into it. So level 2 is where you should always be aiming to be at. right? Which is level two trust is getting into the discovery phase. This is where we're going to ask the questions to discover if the person we're talking to, right, is, like I said earlier, this should be turning into somebody that's a prospect, somebody that you're going to start doing, that you should be prepared to do business with. Because from here you're going to go to level three trust, which is the money conversation. This is where the negotiations is going to start based on what you found out in the discovery phase, right? Now you're going to move into to see if there is a situation, if there is something going on that your solution can solve, right? Because not everybody's our prospect, not everyone's going to do business with us. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're creating these three levels of trust, which is, the first level, which is getting them comfortable and getting them to trust you, to have a conversation with you, and then level two, moving into the discovery phase to see if this is somebody that truly wants to do business with you, right? You're going to discover that, and then, like I said, you're if they're answering questions like, what has you considering selling, what's going on, what happened, or how soon are you comfortable selling, and if we did make you an offer with what you feel comfortable accepting, would you want to put everything in writing, right? You're ready to put everything in writing, excuse me. That's going to move you into level three trust, which is now we're getting into negotiations, right? Now we're going to find out how much they need to walk away with. This is very important because, think about that structure that we just did right now, right? That's a very detailed structure that you can follow in your everyday calling sellers, right? It's not that difficult to follow. You write this down: three levels of trust, right? The first level of trust is just getting the prospect comfortable to trust us, to feel, getting the prospects comfortable enough to trust us, to have a conversation with them. Once they do, then we move into the level two, which is discovery phase. You're going to ask questions about, what's going on in their world, and also condition questions about the property. And then that moves you into level three of trust, which is now they feel comfortable and they're going to trust you to really talk about what they need to walk away with. Listen to what I said. I want you to pay attention to this. Not what they want for the property, is what are they willing to walk away with to resolve all the issues and everything that's going on in their world. Everybody's going to give you a price that they want for the property, but if you don't have a system like this, a structure like this, then you cannot negotiate. You cannot figure out what is it that they need to walk away with to have what they just told you in level two in the discovery phase, to make that go away. That makes sense? To make that go away, whatever it is that they told you and whatever it is that you uncovered during the discovery phase, right? There's a big difference between negotiating from what they want and negotiating and discovering what they actually need. And if you guys have ever been on any of my live calls, like, yes, people will tell me like, this is what I want for the property. But ultimately, because the way I position my questioning, the way I go through the different levels of trust, I get to a point where they actually tell me what they want to walk away with, right? Above the mortgage and above whatever else they need to pay. So very, very, be very conscious of that, right? Everybody's going to want, everybody's has a price that they want for the property, but ultimately, what is it that they need to walk away with, right? Because when they get on the call with you, all they know is what they heard and what they seen, right? They're not sure yet. They haven't really spoke to a professional. They really haven't talked to anyone about this, right? It's what they heard from the real estate agents. It's what they heard from, what they see on Zillow, right? We get all that. And this is going to go into Justin's question earlier. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. That actually plays right into Justin's question, which is, when you read the cold caller notes and they and see they want retail, are you automatically a suspect? I think I just answered your question, Justin, right? I would say no. Never, never, never read the notes and make an assumption and make a decision, an assumptive decision based on what the notes say. Because when you talk to them and you put them through the system and you put them through a system, right? And it could be, and listen, guys, I'm only giving you very, very some very simple, practical things that you can go out and execute on, which is the system of the three levels of trust. We haven't even gotten into yet. We're finding out if this is a prospect or not. We're laying the foundation here. Okay. We're getting ready to lay the foundation here. So based on that, what I just gave, Justin, Tell me in the comment section if that doesn't answer your question, right? Because remember, if not all your prospects are going to start with what they would want to get for the property, but ultimately, because we're putting them through the process, we're putting them through the system of the three levels of trust. Once we get enough data, how much do they actually need based on what they said and based on what's going on in their world? How much do they actually need to walk away with to be able to take care of this situation, right? Take care of this problem that they got going on. And Justin said, yes, it does, right? And this is going to lead me right into my first topic of how do I uncover, how do I know if I'm talking to a prospect, right? And Justin said, up until now, I treated these sellers like suspects. Thanks. Bro, listen, I'm with you. I understand, right? Like I used to get caught up in that a lot. And the problem is you don't give yourself an opportunity. So give yourself an opportunity to disqualify them or to qualify them, if not disqualify them, right? Because they will be suspects. They will be. So you got to give yourself an opportunity to do that. Now, what do you guys think so far? Let me know in the comment section if this is helping you, if this is opening up your eyes. I want to see some comments. I want to see some thumbs up here. I want to see some feedback. So far, what we talked about right now, I can tell you if I ended the live right now, with what I just gave, I think you guys would be set to go out. It's very practical stuff, right? Very practical things. But I want to give you more because I want to make sure that you leave with the full understanding of, you know what I'm saying, of what I'm about to share with you. Okay. So now we know, based off Justin's, comment and the question is that most sellers are going to, if not all, are going to come at you with what they would want to get for the property, right? And it's all based on what they actually have heard or what somebody told them, right? It's not, they really haven't talked to somebody. And this is why, moving into my first point of how do I know I'm talking to a prospect? And I want to see that comment section. I want to see what your guys' feedback so far is. And I'm seeing, I'm going to move into, if you guys want to hear the first key point of, if you want me to go and dive deep into the first key point of how do you know if you're actually talking to a prospect or suspect, let me know in the comment section. I'm about to blow your guys' mind here. And I want to make sure that I got your attention. I'm going to dive deep into some things that you probably have not seen. I might even share my screen here actually, because I want to make sure that you guys get to look at what I'm talking about. Okay. So let me see here. While I'm pulling this up, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section so far what you guys think of what I'm talking about right now. Is it something you're dealing with? Is it something you're actually, is it something you probably never thought about or saw? Let me pull this up right here, and I'm going to, here we go. Okay, let's see here. So I'm going to share my screen while you guys are commenting. Michael, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the fire emojis. It means a lot. Let's see here. Let me pull this up really quick. Let's go. Justin says popcorn ready, all ears. Let's go. I appreciate it. We got a lot of people. We got a few people on. Jason said dealing with it every single day. I love it. And here's why. I'm going to give you guys, let me go ahead and present and share the screen really quick. Window. All right. Let me know if you can see this. Let me know if you guys can see this, and I'll be ready to rock and roll. Let's go. Manuel, appreciate it. He said tacos. Man, you're always making me hungry, bro. I actually had tacos tonight. My wife made some really good tacos. So let's see. So I already had some, bro. I already had some. All right, here we go. Okay. Can you guys see this? Perfect. Colby says you can see it. I appreciate you. Thumbs up. Maybe I'll make it bigger. I'm still trying to figure this out, bro. Guys, bear with me here. I think that works. That's fine right there. I want to make sure you guys see my mug. All right, let's see. So based on Colby's thumbs up, you guys can see it, right? Perfect. All right, let's go. Jamar, what's up, bro? Where you been at, man? Long time no see. Miss you, bro. All right. So what we got to do is we got to understand that the reason why this is how we're gonna know. This is the first phase of how we're gonna know if we're talking to a suspect, right? A lot of times what happens with us when we actually especially us that call, especially us that cold calls, especially some of us that pull lists, right? Even if even PPC, let's just be honest with you, right? When they fill out a form, PPC is a lot yeah, depending on where the lead comes in, right? If it's an inbound lead, yes, it's going to have a little bit higher motivation than somebody that got hit by an outbound cold caller, right? And so basically what we need to do is we need to figure out and we need to understand that whatever it is they put on the notes when they're filling out when it's an inbound lead on the form, we need to find out if that's just a situation or a motivation. I'll even take it a step further, right? Like when you pull a list, just because the list says pre-foreclosure, tax lien, what else? Inheritance property, whatever, right? HOA lien, all these things that all these lists that we pull, that doesn't mean that it's motivation. All that means is that we're pulling a list based on a situation that's happening, but it doesn't mean that the seller's motivated to sell. That makes sense? And I can tell you, I've had situations where sellers that were in foreclosure actually would not sell to me, and they just let it go to foreclosure, even though they were walking away with money. And this is why you're probably getting frustrated when you're talking to sellers, like, oh man, like I don't understand why they don't want to sell to me. Like, this guy's gonna lose the property and they got a lien on their house and this and that. And like, this is why, because it's only a situation. And most suspects are gonna live, excuse me, in the realm of those situations. That's why when you buy a list of 10,000 records, guess what? You might only pull anywhere between, 50 to 100 people that are interested in selling. Right? Think about that. Because all that criteria that you pull or everything they put in the notes when it comes to your list and when it comes to this is what they're doing. What it is just a situation. It's not motivation. So first, this is the first key of understanding if you have a prospect or a suspect. You're talking to a suspect or a prospect. Excuse me. Is understanding is this just a situation or is this motivation? How do we know that? How can we know that, Max? Can you tell us a little bit? How can you know that? Yeah, right. So we have an impact meter, right? This is what you got to look at. We have an impact meter of how this is impacting when you're talking to them, when you're asking them questions. You know what I mean? And I just talked about this, right? So we got this is our list that we pull: foreclosure, liens, back taxes, tire, landlord, inheritance, and we think that this is motivation. We think that this is a motivated sell. These are motivated sellers. Now, don't get me wrong; they're in there somewhere. So prospects are in this criteria somewhere in there, but majority of them are going to be suspects, and we know this, right? Because I just said earlier, we are pulling a list of 10,000 records, or we're getting leads, people who are filling out the information, and it's an inbound lead. And so we look at the notes. Either we're going to be like Justin, where we see the notes and it's way overpriced. It's, they're asking for retail and we treat it as suspect, or we say, oh man, this guy's in foreclosure, he's going to lose the property in 30 days. That's got to be a prospect. That's got to be a seller that's motivated to sell. Completely wrong on both sides. We need to find out what's the impact meter. What is the impact meter that what they're going through, to find out if this is somebody, or is this just somebody that's acting like a prospect that's now looking more like, they're going to be a suspect for us. You can ask pretty good questions, right? And I'll get into that. That's going to be my second key. I want to lay the foundation here because I know that a lot of you are actually going through this, right? When you're pulling a list and you're seeing these lists: foreclosure, liens, back taxes, tire, landlord, inheritance. Look, it's funny because I've talked to, I've had people like, oh, I like, whenever I have, acquisitions and I'm talking to different people and I ask them like, what do they want to sell? Well, he's got some rental properties. Okay, well, what's going on? How come he wants to sell the rental properties? Well, he's just tired of being a landlord. Okay, that is not motivation. That's not a prospect yet. That's more of a suspect potentially fishing for information. Why are they tired of being a landlord? What's going on? Right? There's something that have we asked that extra question? Have we asked that extra? Have we made that extra assumption statement? Have we tried to figure out, besides the just being a tired landlord, like what else is going on? You know, have they tried to probably, have they tried to potentially hired a what is it called, a management company? I mean, $150 a month can probably save you a lot of headache, and you don't have to be a tired landlord anymore, right? Potentially. And so again, just because they say those things, right? Excuse me, just because they say those things doesn't mean that there's motivation there, right? So when is there motivation? Motivation comes in the form when the impact meter starts to move, it starts to go to the red, right? This is the thing that you got to understand is that now when we start asking questions, right? When we start asking the right questions, okay, so you're tired. So I'll give you guys a little what do you call it here? So all right, so okay, so tell me a little bit more about what's going on with your properties. Well, I just got tired. I'm just tired of being a landlord. I don't want to rent these anymore. And so, that's just it. I want to sell them. I don't want to be a landlord no more. Okay, got it. Got it. And how long has that been going on that you decided that you don't want to be a landlord anymore? Well, obviously I've been thinking about this for a while now. I'm getting a little older in age. So I don't want to manage these anymore, and I just want to liquidate and I want to get rid of them. So far, the impact meter now has moved just a little bit, right? We're starting to move it from green potentially. We're kind of going yellow now. So then we say, okay, have you ever thought about, now we're gonna call it out. We're gonna discover if this person has really tried everything when it comes to basically trying to solve this problem, right? Because remember, just because they're in the stage, just because they're on a list that says, you know, uh, tire landlord, and just because they told us they're a tire landlord doesn't mean they necessarily are. So we're gonna say, hey, have you ever thought about just maybe paying, paying a management company to really take care of, to take care of the property for you, where you just don't have to do any of that no more. You know what? I actually haven't, but maybe that's something I would consider, right? Let's just say they say that. Okay, got it. So that's still a possibility from what you're telling me. Yeah, it is. I just wanted to see what you would tell me, what you would pay for the property, because I don't really need the money, right? Now look at that. The impact meter just went back down. It went back down to green for me, right? Now, if that same conversation, the guy's like, you know what? No, Max, I'm already frustrated with this property. I'm tired of these tenants that have been there. They've been in there for 5 years. They messed up the property. They haven't paid me in the last 6 months. All I want to do is I want to get rid of this property, and I want to just make sure that, that I don't want to deal with this anymore. You notice the difference in the conversation? That's what we're looking for. This is why you got to ask that extra question. This is why you got to make that extra statement so you can truly uncover that. And guess what? We are now moving into where? Here. When we hear those things, when we hear it's impacting them personally, financially, emotionally, like now we're starting to see the needle moving, right? Now we're hearing words as, they're frustrated, they're frustrated, they don't want to deal with it anymore, they're tired of it, they just want to get rid of this problem, right? And the reason I say this is because people buy emotionally and justify it logically, right? So if you got somebody that's very logical in the conversation, it's going to be more of a battle, right? So you have to remember that people buy emotionally and justify it logically, right? And it's something that you have to remember. This is why it's important. This is the first key of understanding if you have a prospect or a suspect. If you're talking to a prospect or a suspect, identifying what is the impact that's happening in their life with the current situation, right? Because again, just because someone's on that list doesn't mean that they're going to be your sellers, right? I've seen this before where people get so frustrated or they get upset about someone not selling to them because, hey, you have so many liens on your property, or you're in foreclosure, you're going to lose the property. And but really we haven't really uncovered, right? This is in the discovery phase. We moved on. We still moved on. And so we have to basically go a little bit deeper. And I love Jamar's statements here, but still not a good reason to sell, right? It isn't a level, isn't it a level deeper, but still is not a good reason to sell, right? It's still a level deeper. Yeah, exactly. It's so what I've learned through, tens of thousands of seller calls that I've made and hundreds of in-house appointments like that I've attended, because that's really where I cut my teeth in. I cut my teeth with in-house seller appointments, and then obviously we moved everything over the phone. And even, I've made thousands, close to tens of thousands of seller calls. And the first problem that the prospect brings you is never, listen to me, write this down. If you're taking notes, you better write this down and you better highlight it. And this is to Jamar's point. The first problem that the prospect brings you is never, never the real problem. Okay. The first problem that the prospect brings you is never the real problem. You have to ask one or two or maybe three more questions so you can remove the smoke screen. Most of you are trying to create solutions based on smoke screen problems. Most of you are trying to create and trying to make offers based on surface level conversations. And that's what I'm trying to teach you tonight. And that's what I'm trying to educate you on. So that way you are aware of this and you're paying attention to what the sellers are telling you, right? It's very important. I'm glad you highlighted that, Jamar, because the problem is that a lot of, again, I'm going to say this again, we're tailoring solutions, we're making offers, and we're trying to work with people on a more surface level problems. And that's why deals fall apart. That's why sellers don't want to sell. That's why you're working with, you find yourself convincing more than actually solving. And those are the things that you need to be aware of. And then you get frustrated and you don't want to do this anymore. You quit. There's levels to this. There's levels to this because let's be honest. Most of you on this call, we know the game has changed. This ain't 2020. This is not 2021 where you can buy a property at whatever price and somebody's going to buy it at whatever price. Like, you got to have skill and you got to have tools, right? The skill set level has to go up and your tool set level has to increase, right? And this is just the first key of understanding that is situation versus motivation. Don't create solutions tailored around surface level problems, and don't make offers around surface level situations, right? We got to uncover that. We got to ask one more question. We got to make that one more statement. And here's the thing, a prospect is going to engage with you in the questioning. A suspect is going to say, why are you asking all these questions? What does this matter? Just make me the offer. Right? How many can relate to that, right? Like, that doesn't matter. Like, why do you need to know all that? If you don't have an offer, you call me back. Okay, Mr. Seller. I'm definitely going to do that for you. I'm going to call you back right now. Yes, of course. Let me go comp. Let me go spend my precious time comping and coming up with an offer for you for a person that doesn't want to have a conversation with me. Sure, Mr. Moron. Okay, I'm definitely going to do that, right? And so these are the things that you have to be aware of. Now, listen, I'm in a different space. Like, my thought process is different than a lot of you because I know some of you are still trying to get your first deal. I've completed a lot of transactions now, so my mindset is that I'm gonna just my goal is to qualify you to the highest potential possible. But I'm ready to end the sale anytime. I'm not going to convince you to do business with me. And I get it. A lot of you are still trying to get your first deal. A lot of you are still getting the hang of this. And I understand that, right? I totally understand that. But the faster and the better you get at understanding these things is you know what I mean? You're going to get better at it. All right. So how many found that valuable? Let me know in the comment section. What was one thing that you found valuable and it was an aha moment for you? I want to know in the comment section. Drop some fire emojis. Let me know in the comment section if this first key of understanding how do you know you're talking to a suspect or a prospect. Obviously, like I said, situation versus motivation. There's a big difference there. Don't get caught up too much in the situation that's happening based on the criteria of the list. Look for more of what's the impact meter that they're going through and how this situation is impacting them, so you can create a solution and you can tailor an offer to solve that problem, right? Because again, It's not what they want, it's what do they need to walk away with to solve that problem and that solution that they're going through, right? Let me know in the comment section for you guys around. We got a few of you on here. Let me know in the comment section, what you found valuable and what you're seeing in regards to that. I love it. So, Jamar, appreciate you, man, for the fire emojis. Come on, we got about 18 of you. Hit the like button as well, too. Let's make this thing go. Hit the like button, and make sure that you're sharing this stream. That's one of the things that I always ask. All right, second key, which is it would after we get an understanding that a situation is not motivation, right? We got to measure our conversations. We got to measure it against these three things, which is cooperation, engagement, and reciprocation, right? And you'll know right away. For those of you guys that don't know, I have a video on YouTube. I probably should put the link on here, but I have a video on YouTube where I actually break down one of my calls. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. I break down one of my calls where I go from hello to contract. And so in that call, I stop. It's about an hour long for the reason that I stop it and I commentate on it. And you'll see me talk about this a lot: the engagement, cooperation, and the reciprocation. Right now, there's going to be a lot of prospects where you're only going to get one of those things. Right, you're going to have somebody that's engaged, but maybe not very cooperative. Right, and so basically, and so what we need to do is we need to understand that you're probably not going to get all three at the same time. So you have to be conscious of getting this throughout the conversation, right? And so the one thing that we need to realize in the beginning of the conversation, if I can at least get some engagement, I'm good. Like I'm ready to continue, right? And so the second thing is that once I get engagement, now I want a little bit of cooperation, right? I got engagement enough, like I said, level one trust. I got them engaged to basically have a conversation with me. Now, what I need to do is the second part is that I need some cooperation in here. Like I need them to not just give me one line answers. Yes. Uh-huh. One word answers. Excuse me, one line. One word answers. Yes. Uh-huh. Sure. Whatever you say. Okay. That is not cooperation, right? That's not really engagement either. So you got to be mindful when you're asking questions and you're in the process and the seller's being very vague. You got to start thinking right away, okay, now am I truly dealing with a suspect here, right? But don't disqualify him yet. Always remember to ask the extra question, make the extra statement so you can find that out. Michael, I love your comment right here. I'm going to highlight Michael's comment. It's like you have to keep the suspect talking. Absolutely. Never end the call. Always end the sell. And this is where I'm going right now, Michael. You're following me really well here. So again, in the beginning, we're going to get engagement, and then we're going to get a little bit of cooperation. But when you have reciprocation in the conversation, and for those of you, right, reciprocation, it's like basically we're now it's a dance now, right? Now we know where we're all moving. You need to answer this. I have to answer your question. Now you ask for information. Now I'm asking for information. And it's like this very, very, very like a Broadway play now, right? Now we're moving. We're moving forward. We're moving into where we need to move to so you can get what you're looking for and I can get what I'm looking for. And that's the way you measure your conversation with sellers, right? And I've done this for so long now. Like I understand right away when someone is not engaged, when someone is not cooperative, and especially if the conversation is not reciprocative, right? And so sometimes you have to make that hard decision. Yes, Michael, we need to ask a few more questions. We need for to really determine if this is a suspect. But before you actually end the call, there is one thing I want you guys to do, and I want you to write this down because I think this is important, is put the prospect through what I call the disqualifier. Okay. Put the suspect, excuse me, not the prospect, put the suspect when you feel you have a suspect that you don't have, they're engaging with you, but they're not really cooperative, and the conversation is not reciprocative, right? So what you should be doing now is thinking, okay, this is where like the critical thinking skills have to start working, right? And you have to basically start thinking about, okay, I got somebody here that I've asked these questions hundreds of times to other sellers. This prospect now, because I'm already experienced and I know what I need to hear, is not answering the questions how typically somebody that would sell me their property is answering them. Maybe they're not being full transparent with me. I need to ask a few more questions, kind of like what Michael's comment here, just to kind of break that ice. But if it still continues, I'm going to say, okay, based on what I've heard before, based on the conversations I had before, this is why it's very important to debrief your calls, your negotiation calls, because you got to start getting an understanding of what just happened. If I ask most of you, how did you get that deal or what happened on that call, right? Most of you probably wouldn't even know because you don't debrief, you don't take the notes, you're not doing your recon sheet, right? Most of you wouldn't even have an idea. I don't even know how I got that call. I don't even know how I got that contract. I don't know where I struggle. I don't know if it was in the intro or if it was like, you have to know these things so you're able to measure the conversation against that. Now, if I don't get at least one, if I don't get at least one, oh, sorry, if I'm only getting one, they're somewhat engaged, but they're not very cooperative. There's not a reciprocation in the conversation. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna make sure you write this down. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say it at least a couple of times so you guys can hear it. Here we go. So, you know what, Michael, you and I have been really talking now for about, I would say, like at least about 7, 8 minutes now. And what I could tell you is other sellers who have sold to me in the past did so for about 3 reasons or so, right? A lot of them for other different reasons, but majority of them that sold to me did so because they wanted to choose their closing date. They want to be very specific. They didn't want to list on the market and be on the market forever. There were some people, not all of them. There were some that were in a financial situation, which, obviously not all of them, but most of them sold to me because the property needed a lot of repairs, which they had a lot of issues with the property and they didn't want to deal with those issues. Sounds to me, sounds to me like none of those apply to you. Notice how I said that. Sounds to me like none of those apply to you. And here's what's going to happen next. Because remember the impact meter, it was personally, financially, emotionally, right? So if I know I'm talking to a seller that I'm measuring the conversation against those 3 key factors, which is engagement, cooperation, and reciprocation. And I know they're engaged, but they're not really giving me what they want. And I've already tried to break that wall with them. Well, now I'm going to put them through the disqualifier. I'm going to say this for the second time is, you know what, Michael, you and I have been talking now for about 7 or 10 minutes. And typically people that sold to me in the past have done so because they wanted to choose a specific date when they wanted to get their money. They didn't want to list. They didn't want to, basically be they didn't want to list on the market and have to go through showings and all that. Some of them, not all of them, were in some type of financial situation, but a lot of them sold to me because the property needed repairs. They needed a lot of work, right? Needed a lot of work on their property, and they just didn't want to deal with it. Sounds to me like none of those apply to you, right? Let them answer that question. They got to really think about that because we just covered all categories, right? We covered timeline with, choosing their closing date. We said financial situation, right? And then we said the property needs repairs, or sometimes they didn't want to deal with what was going on with the property at all. Now, there's only 2 things that are going to happen here. Mostly what I've heard after making tens of thousands of phone calls is the last thing. You know what? Yeah, my property's not fixed up, or yeah, my property does need a lot of repairs. I think that, that would be a reason for me to sell. Now, if they say no, none of those apply to me, I'm still not ending the sale. Check this out, Michael, right? I'm going to say, okay, so if none of those apply to you, how are you hoping that I can help you? I am slowly pushing away, right? I'm disqualifying this person. Very slow, very methodical, and I'm ending the sale without them actually even knowing that I'm ending the sale. And if they say they're just looking for an offer, then the red flags have to go, right? They're just looking for a number. That's a way that you can really disqualify someone to end the call, is putting them through the disqualifier and letting them know that these are the people that you work with. And right now, Michael, you don't sound like one of those people. So how are you hoping that I can help you? Because I don't want to continue this call if there's really and not anything that that you and I can work out on. So, man, that is a lot right there, right? You guys gonna have to go back and probably rewatch this. You have to go back and rewatch this and write a lot of notes because we covered a lot here. So those are the ways that you can actually know if you are talking to a suspect or if you're talking to somebody who's an actual prospect or you converted them into a prospect. Because I'm going to tell you this, I don't care if it's an inbound lead and I don't care if it was generated from cold calling. They're not motivated until you call. All they are is interested. That's it. All they are is interested, right? That's all they are. They're interested in selling. They at some point they decided are inbound leads a lot are inbound leads a lot hotter than cold call outbound? Yes, of course. But it's still your job to uncover if this is truly, because we know a lot of people fill out that inbound form to see if you pay retail. Let's be honest with you. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? Like a lot of people fill out that form and they want to know if you pay retail like Zillow. There's no way around that, right? And so, man, we covered a lot. There's a lot of questions in here, so I'm gonna get to it. Man, I appreciate every single one of you. Let me know how valuable that is. I'm gonna get into a little bit of Q&A. We got about 10 minutes. I want to get into some Q&A for the next 10, 15 minutes. I want to answer a lot of questions because we covered a lot, and I'm sure that there's questions, but I'm gonna recap our conversation here really quick. Let's see. Man, let's go. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin, for the super chat. I really appreciate you, bro. It means a lot. Thank you, man. Kevin's actually was on my sales hour call last night. Kevin's a new follower, a new subscriber. I really appreciate you, Kevin, for showing the love and support, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, man. All right, let's go. Let's see. So again, I'm going to recap our conversation here. I'm going to get to Instagram because Instagram's got a lot of comments and there's some questions in there as well too. So recapping. Create a system around the 3 levels of trust. First level is get them comfortable enough to trust you to have a conversation with you. Stop moving so fast into the negotiations. Stop moving so fast into asking very deep motivation questions in the first 5 minutes. Stop doing that. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's slow this thing down. Like you guys hear quarterbacks, right? What do they say? Man, the game was super fast in the first quarter. We slowed it down. Our defense got what they needed to do, and we slowed the game down, and we won, right? Slow it down. Slow the game down. You're not buying a property in 2 minutes. Prospects know that. Sellers know that. Excuse me, not prospects. Sellers know that. But there's ways to do that. Second level of trust, what are we doing? We're now moving into basically the discovery phase. Now you can move a little bit faster, right? You start going the no huddle. Right? I'm going to use football terms here. You start going the no huddle, right? You can now start asking questions. However, you still got to go through your progressions. You still got to look, first look, second look, third look. Don't ask 4 questions at a time. Don't try to move too fast. Don't say, don't ask 1 question at a time. Let the prospect answer so you can get the data and then save the data, download it, and then move on and save that data. And then you move on to level 3, which is now we're getting into the money conversation, which we're going to uncover how much do they need to walk away with. That's a way you can tell, right? That if you put a seller through that, you're going to find out if you're talking to a suspect or a prospect. And then the second key point is situation versus motivation, right? Just because they're in a situation doesn't mean it's motivation. How is it impacting them? How soon do they want to let go? Are they using words like frustrated? Are they using words like I'm upset? I'm tired of it. The craziest word I heard one time is a guy said that, come on, Max, this house is a pimple on my butt and I can't pop it. Like it's bothering me. Like this house, I'm tired of it. Right? So keywords, right? Is what's really happening is moving the impact meter, right? What's really happening is moving the impact meter. And then the last thing we talk about is measure your conversations against those three key points, which is engagement, cooperation, reciprocation. If not, go to the disqualifier. I just gave you the disqualifier, right? And so basically that's, again, these things are going to help you to really determine if you're actually talking to a prospect or a suspect. All right, let me get to the questions here. So I think I got to this one. It's like you're talking to, let me grab some water actually. So yeah, I think I already talked about this one. I hit the point on that. Jason said at the gym, but I'm definitely listening. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jason. Justin said, is it okay to schedule callbacks to make the offer so it gives us time to comp? Or should all offers be made on the first call? Sometimes I fear overload doing comps and taking notes at the same time. Now, this is why it's important. Remember the first level, second level, third level. You should never feel rush on a call. Never. Not if you have a real prospect. You should never feel rush on a call. Either you're moving too fast in the conversation or you're moving too fast through your process that you're putting yourself. Remember this, Justin. Sales should not, especially acquisition sales, when you're buying an asset, when you're buying a property, when you're making when you're making a transaction with somebody that's their biggest transaction that they're ever going to make in their life. It should never be like a high stakes poker game where you feel pressure, right? Where you got to bluff, where you got to hide your face, right? It should be more of what I said earlier. It should be more like a Broadway play where everybody's in sync, where everybody's patient, where everybody, is playing the game, right? So, are there going to be situations where you do need to set up a follow-up and a callback for you to make the offer? Absolutely. So what that means is that yeah, it's okay to set the callback, but you should be able to somewhat, if you know the like, and it's all based on the area and property and all that stuff as well. But you should never feel rushed on a call. I mean, if you can make the offer, or even I would say even try to do an anchor range offer, so you can at least know that you're within the range of the prospect where they're thinking they need to be at, or the seller, excuse me, of where they think they need to be at. But I'm okay with setting a callback. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't set a callback. All I'm saying is that if you're setting the callbacks because you're feeling overloaded, right? Because maybe the conversations are going too fast, slow the game down, right? Slow the conversation down. Got it? Good question, though. Kevin, my guy, what's up? He says, Max, random question. Is your brick stone wallpaper or real brick tiles? Love the look. I always get asked that. They're actually real bricks. So, yeah, they're real. Yeah, they're just painted brown. And then I have this wood beam right here. So they're real. It's a real background. So no paper. Silver Liner says golden nugget right there. Appreciate it. Michael, thank you for the fire emojis. Jason said, man, this is the sauce. Absolutely. I appreciate you. God, no questions, man. Where are the questions at? There's got to be questions. There's close to over 20 of you on here right now joining me. Jamar said, is it a way you could start off with asking the question, are you filling out the info to see if you could get if you could get retail? I'm thinking you mean more of like for the form or something. Well, the problem is that the problem is everyone's going to say yes to that. That's my only issue with it. Play around with it, do it strategically, right? Just to get an idea, but everyone's going to say yes, of course. Wouldn't you want more? Wouldn't you want the most for your property? And so if you start the conversation that way, then it kind of creates an unnecessary objection for you, Jamar. Not saying there's nothing wrong with it. I would be careful, play around with it, because you are creating an unnecessary objection, because I'm not saying all of them, but most sellers are going to say, yes, of course. Wouldn't you want to get the most for your property? So I would tread lightly on that. Because you really don't know yet, right? Like what's going on. So what I do is I always say this. I rather ask questions. Like I rather tell them like, look, I got all the information. Obviously, the notes don't always tell me the whole story. So all I want to do is just want to ask you some few follow through questions so I can qualify the property for an offer. Because again, sales is all about positioning, and I want to be in a position where they understand, in order to get what you're looking for, I need to get what I need to give you what you're looking for, right? Instead of starting off the back like with an unnecessary objection that I don't want. It's already difficult to talk to sellers, and so basically, it's I don't want to create any unnecessary objections. That's just basically the point of what I'm trying to say. Let's see, Instagram. What do we got? I'm gonna go to Instagram because I think YouTube's sleeping right now. There's no questions. Let's see here. What do we got? Corey, what's going on, brother? Appreciate the emoji, taco emoji. Marie, what's going on? Thank you. Let's see. Vandy, appreciate the fire emojis. Real estate raw says questions like a doctor, think like a detective. I love that. Questions like a doctor and think like a detective. Perfect, perfect explanation. Let's see, Kevin, appreciate you. Thank you for that. Vandy has a question. She says, when is the right time to start the disqualified statement? I think I kind of covered that already. I covered that in a few ways when it comes to understanding. You might have to go back and watch it again, but in the measurement in the third key point, which is the engagement, cooperation, and reciprocation. Now, you and were on a one-on-one call, right, Vandy? And remember the recording that we listened to, that recording where the guy was somewhat engaged, right? They were engaged, but they weren't really being cooperative. Like they were engaged with you, but they weren't really being cooperative. So just remember that. Go back and measure that. Vandy says there's so much valuable content. Thank you, Max. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for that question. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to YouTube and see what we got going on here. Um, so Jamar said, in that case, I probably wouldn't ask. Typically, people seeking info from a realtor first. What did they tell you? I love that. Okay, I roll with that. Definitely, 100%. I love that. And I would even, so if you go back to like, hey, we noticed you filled out the form. Typically, people who have filled out the form in the past, they are seeking information from realtors. So when you talk to them, what did they tell you about the property, or what did they tell you? So set it up, right? Set up the question. I go with that. That's fine. I don't think I have a problem with that. So Max, what are your marketing channels? You know what? I used to, like, I love cold calling. I love cold calling. And so, but PPC just seems to be a lot better conversations, man. Like, not saying that you can't get deals from cold calling, but PPC is the marketing channel that's the go-to marketing channel right now, which I love. What, Max, what's something encouraging you would go back first year doing this and tell yourself? Man, that's a really great question. I don't know if I ever really thought about that. Encouraging, I would say don't give up, right? Um, because there was a point when I almost gave up. And so I would say don't give up, continue, because you have no idea where it's going to take you. And so the reason why I say that, because I did almost give up, right? I had four contracts that I talk about this all the time. Four properties that I contract, and all four basically fell through, right? So definitely, I would say that don't give up. Keep pushing through, because you have no idea where you're going, or where this is going to take you, right? So I love it. Kevin said, Max, TikTok needs you. Man, I still don't. You're gonna have to teach me, Kevin, because like I get TikTok, and like I post every now and then, but man, I tried to go live the last time, and I just yeah, I had no idea how to do it. So you and I need to connect, bro. Shoot me a DM. Let's connect on that. Jamar says, Jamar Car, 100%. Yeah, use that question, bro. I love it. I love it. It's a great question. It's a good setup, but set it up, position it correctly. Um, are these questions the same for realtors? Yes. The only difference between what we're doing now is that you're not actually talking to the emotionally involved person, which is the seller. However, though, is you got to uncover what's the pain points for the realtor, especially if you're calling for properties that haven't sold in a while, right? So it's more geared, it's going to be more B2B, business to business. So you have to tailor the questions from a business to business perspective, right? Because when we're going direct to seller, it's more business to consumer, right? So, and I'm dealing with the person who's emotionally attached, or there's the person that I can take to the emotional stage. A realtor is not, right? However, you need to ask the questions to be able to find out what is the realtor's pain point. Is it a difficult seller? Is the property bad? Things, what's happening? Hey, and don't ever make it about the property. Same thing with sellers. We don't ever make it about the property. Make it about them, right? Make it about them. When you call them and you say, "Hey, this is Max. I was calling because I noticed that you have that. I noticed that you obviously have that listing on 59th Street. Yeah, yeah, that's my listing. What's going on? Not much. I was calling to see if you had. I've seen that it's listed now for over 100 days, and just want to see if you had any offers on that property, or you haven't. Oh wow, what's going on? Can you tell me a little more about why you haven't had any offers? Well, obviously this and that, and blah, whatever it is that they say, right? Okay, got it. So do you feel like it's overpriced, or what do you think's going on? And so now you start gearing your questioning towards the realtor. Okay, and then what have you tried? Have you tried to talk to the sellers to try to reduce the price, or has that not worked for you? Try to figure out, like, ask the questions in a strategic way where you're getting the realtor onto your team, right? So so what you want to do is you want to be very collaborative. That's whether it's a realtor or it's direct to seller. And you also want to be assertive at points, right? When you're asking these questions. Assertiveness comes in, that's your closer side. That's when you want to assert yourself in the certain scenarios. But you want to be very collaborative and get the realtor to come to your side, or start getting them as part of your team, so then you can ask the permission to go for you guys all to talk to the seller in case you want to present, like, something creative or something like that. Most realtors will play ball, but you got to go through a lot of realtors, just like you got to go through a lot of sellers. So Justin says, a house in a great location, no repairs needed. I've been offering 65% of these leads and they think I'm crazy. What's the most we can offer on properties that need no repairs in a great location? Offer them what they want, but just get your terms. I don't know if you're doing creative or not, Justin. That might be what you're missing in your arsenal, because I know that you can still wholesale those deals. You know what I mean? Subject to or seller finance, like, you can still wholesale those deals. So as far as a wholesale deal, the problem with wholesale deals, like, if you're gonna sell it for a cash buyer, I would say then maybe go novation route, right? Like, offer them a little bit close to what they want. Somewhere, if it's a property that doesn't need anything, but how you're describing it, properties that need no repairs and they're in great locations. I mean, you can pay, higher when you do a novation, because then you can list it on the market, and now your buyers are going to be end buyers. They're going to be MLS buyers, right? Um, but if you're not using any creative structure, like, that could be hindering you for sure. Perfect. I think I talked about that. All right, cool. So, let's see. Instagram, we got a few questions. Are you ever using the underwriter or finance team to act as a middleman and to avoid direct negotiations? Yes. I don't care what anyone says. I am always in the position of, I don't use the finance. I don't like finance. I don't like I'm gonna talk to my finance manager. You know what I mean? I don't like using that, Ross. I'm gonna because it just sounds too like that's too for me. I don't like it personally. I'm not in favor of that, because that sounds more like a car dealership. But when you say underwriting team, a lot, they understand that, right? Like, there's gonna be underwriting team. Now I use them because it just positions me a lot better, right? At the end of the day, it's sales is a slide edge game, right? Whether it's acquisitions, whether it's you're out there selling other, services or products, sales is a slide edge game. And I like to maintain leverage and position throughout the whole conversation. And to be honest with you, like, for the most part, you know what I mean? Everything there, anytime someone buys a property, it's got to go through underwriting, right? Whether you say my underwriting team, or, hey, I got to underwrite this deal to find out if this is something that, that we can qualify the property for. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? It's positioning. So I'm totally for it, right? And I know some people don't like it, which is fine, but I don't, again, I rather say underwriter. I want to ask you a few questions to see if we can qualify this property for an offer, and see if my underwriting team will, get it approved so we can move forward. So cool. Last thing, let me know, did you guys get value tonight? Let me know in the comment sections over on Instagram. Let me know in the chat. I mean, and add a comment, drop some fire emojis if you got value tonight with this presentation. It's going to be up. It's going to be definitely, up, so for you guys to go back, review this. Let me see here. I'm going to close this down for some reason. It's going to be up for you guys to review, for you to be able to go back to it and try to where you can, go back and take notes. Cause I know a lot of times this goes pretty quick, but this one is one that you should be watching all over again, because we covered a lot. We covered quite a bit of information tonight. One of the things I do want to announce, and the reason I went live tonight, obviously, um, and so basically, let me see. I'm gonna go back to Instagram because I like Ross's comment here. He says, "You and the seller versus the Evo underwriter." Look, and that is a strategic way to get back on the phones, and you'll see in my closer scripts, you're going to hear in my top closer script, you're going to hear where I put the seller on hold, and I always come back and I always say, "Hey Ross, it's Max. My underwriting team is working on the offer. Obviously they haven't been in the conversation with you and I, right? They haven't been on the conversation with you and I. So they just run numbers at the end of the day, right? You and I have been talking. I understand your situation. So depending on the offer they come back with, don't get offended by it. It's just they run numbers. That's it, right? And so that gives me that positions me a little bit different, like I'm on their team, right? But at the same time, I'm making it very clear that there might be a case where the offer is going to come in very low. So Vandy said it's valuable content. I appreciate it. Steve Laud, what's going on, brother? Loving the content, giving all the value. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Jamar says, are there situations where you can think where you have a prospect, but really yes, I actually should have talked about that. I'm actually going to talk about that here on the next call. But it is definitely, there's going to be suspects that disguise themselves as prospects. They say the right things, right? They say the right things, or they say the right things, and basically they disguise themselves, but they never commit. Those are the ones. And listen, I gotten shammed by a suspect who's disguised as a prospect? Yeah, I have. That's why it's really important to never deviate from the process as much as you can, because they're gonna say similar things, right? It's sort of a chameleon. But guess what's going to happen is they're going to lie to you, right? I want to work with you. Yeah, I want to work with you. Yes. Now this is where you're going to measure against Jamar. Yeah, I want to work with you. Oh yeah, tell me what you would do for me, right? They're going to lie. They're going to lie to you, and then they're going to steal from you. What are they going to steal from you? Your information. They're going to lie to you to steal the information from you. What are they going to steal? Your offer, what you can do for them, so they can go out and shop it. And then how do you know they're a suspect and they weren't a prospect? They hide from you. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen, right? So again, they're going to lie to you, say they want to work with you, they like you, they love what they're hearing, and then they're going to steal your information. They're going to say, oh, tell me what you can pay, tell me what you can do, and then they don't ever commit to you, right? So yes to that. Michael, appreciate the fire emojis. Sorry, you go through a conversation and find out they're suspects. Yeah, I mean, like I said, right now, you definitely can do that. That's what's really important to hear, to measure the conversation when it comes to, and again, I love the comment over here with Ross on Instagram. He says they aren't personable or emotional and like numbers more than people. It's us against them. Yeah, there you go. But what I was going to say about the suspect, like that's why it's important to measure them, like against that cooperation, reciprocation, and also engagement, right? Because a prospect is not going to have a problem to fall under all three, but a suspect will. But however, like I said, they'll disguise themselves as that person that supposedly does want to sell and wants to, and at the end of the day, they don't. So I want to share something with you guys really quick before I leave, and I'm going to drop the link inside of the chat here. I'm actually on March 13th. I'm actually going to start. I'm going to drop the link there for. It's not open for registration yet, but I want to share with you guys so that way you guys on Instagram can look at this. What I'm going to do is on March 13th, I'm going to be opening up the Closers Lab Acquisitions Academy. Basically, if you guys want more information, go there. There's a video here, explains the information. And obviously you guys know what I'm about, right? Real acquisition strategies. This is not going to be a video course. This is not a one-day class. We're not talking hypotheticals as you guys saw today. This is not a rah-rah speech, no motivation. We're not talking theory or fluff here, right? We're talking real acquisition strategies that are going to help you to move the line, right? Um, so if you click on the link right now, the only thing you can do is be put on a wait list. So that way wait. I'm going to release on February 17th is when the registration is going to be open for the public. But if you want to be put on a wait list to find out more information about this, go there and fill out this email. Click on the link right there. For those of you on Instagram, I can't put the link on Instagram. Shoot me a DM and I will send you the link for this specific Manny, what's up, bro? Spilling the candy. Yes, you already know about that, bro. So again, I'm calling this the Closers Lab Acquisition Academy. I think it's something that's needed. This is not a one again, like I said, this is not a video course. This is not a one-day class. This is no hypotheticals here, no rah-rah talk, no theory, and no fluff. I'm not bringing you guys that, right? I am going to be make sure you listen to this video because there's some very important details in there. And then, like I said, I am releasing it out to the public on February 17th for registration. If anybody, it's going to be very limited seating because it's going to be a very intimate setting when it comes to the calls and everything else. We're going to do some live calls as well. So I have a lot planned in this. So that's why I can't work with everybody. But if you want to be put on the wait list for it, go ahead and fill this out and put your email in there. And I'll send you more information before it goes out to the public because my goal is to release it on February 17th for registration, open registration, and then start March 13th. And again, if you guys want more information on it, I put the link for you for those of you guys that are on YouTube. For those of you guys on Instagram, shoot me a DM and I will send you the link so that way you guys can hear more information about it. So yeah, the Closers Lab Academy, the Closers Lab Acquisition Academy, something that I've been putting together now for a while, for the last probably 8 months, and I'm ready to release it. And I'm ready to really start this journey with some of you that are interested in doing this. And I pride myself in a lot of this right here because let's be honest, there's a lot of video courses out there. There's a lot of one-day sales training, and they're all joke, right? You don't learn anything. A lot of it too is hypothetical, and a lot of it's theory. And again, we don't want to waste our hard-earned money on that stuff, right? And so, you guys know that I'm not about motivation or rah-rah guy. I bring you real world application, just like I did tonight. So for those of you that are just jumping on, and I put the link inside here in the comment section on YouTube. But for those of you just jumping on, Charles, send me a DM with the word link so I can send it to you. Those of you guys that are on Instagram. But for those of you that are jumping on, you want to make sure that you are that you're going back and watching this to make sure that you are writing the notes and then get an idea of what I'm talking about here. Cause you might have just jumped on and I'm showing you a program that I'm releasing and you're like, oh man, is this something that's to do with sell or is it just selling stuff here? It's not. So, laugh out loud. How do you handle now being an unpaid consultant, being that you do a lot of free training and give away a lot of gym? How do you manage that? It's very difficult, man. But I've gotten it down now to a science, Jamar. You've been following me for a very long time, and you know that I've been doing this for a very long time, right? And so what I want to do is, give this opportunity for people, and that's kind of how I end up, and I got people that work with me one-on-one, right? That's a whole nother level. Like I don't leave it open. I have 2 right now that I'm working with one-on-one directly. Vandy's one of them, and then my buddy Charlie. But and then I think Justin just asked me right now, do you have a package that will give us access to you 24 hours a day? I don't know about 24 hours a day, but so what I'm doing now is I'm doing one-on-ones every quarter, only for 3 people because that's a lot of work. This is more for a group. This is more for a group. This is more for individuals that that want to join a group, and we're gonna do some group things, role playing, live calls, all good stuff. You're gonna learn what I showed you guys tonight with the presentation. That was a little snippet of what my actual my education, my acquisition academy has. Like that was just one little small snippet, right? But hit me up, Justin. I do have one more slot for a one-on-one for this quarter. I already got 2 of them because it's a lot of work. So You're welcome. Appreciate you. Jamar says, laugh out loud. Thanks, Max. You're welcome. No problem, Jamar. Appreciate you for being on here, bro. It's been a while since I haven't seen you, so I hope you're doing good. All right, everyone. So no more questions. I'm gonna sign off. Justin said, "Count me in." I appreciate you, Justin. I will definitely reach out. And you have my number as well too. So let's go ahead and have that conversation. But everyone else, I put the link for the Closers Lab Acquisition Academy inside of the chat here. It's also going to be in the description of this video. So if you want to go back to it and click on it. And for those of you on Instagram, let me know. Shoot me a DM. Don't put it in the chat here. Shoot me a DM with the word link, and I'll send you over the data. And make sure you go back and rewatch this. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Click the like button so that way YouTube shows it to other people, and share this with one person. I appreciate everyone. Everyone have a good night. Later.